You check your net worth for the third time before breakfast. The number hasn't changed since last night, but somehow it still feels unreal. $1 million. Not in lottery winnings, not in a headline, not in someone else's story. It's your name beside that number. You expect a rush, a cinematic moment where everything suddenly makes sense. Instead, the room is quiet. Your coffee tastes the same. The neighbors still leave for work at the same time. The world hasn't noticed what happened overnight. Yet something invisible has shifted, and you feel it before you can explain it. For years, 1 million felt like the finish line. Every article, every podcast, every late-night conversation treated it as the point where life became easier. You imagined confidence arriving with the number, as if wealth could erase uncertainty the way sunlight burns through morning fog. But standing here now, you discover the truth is stranger. Reaching $1 million doesn't instantly change your lifestyle. It changes your perspective. The things that once looked expensive now look like choices. The things that once felt impossible suddenly become calculations instead of dreams. The first surprise isn't what you buy, it's what you stop worrying about. The unexpected medical bill no longer keeps you awake. The broken transmission isn't a financial emergency. You stop checking your bank balance before ordering dinner. Tiny decisions that quietly consumed your attention disappear one by one, leaving behind something you haven't experienced in years. Mental space. Freedom isn't loud. It arrives as silence where anxiety used to live. Then something else begins to happen. People haven't changed, but the way you see them has. At work, conversations about promotions feel different because your future no longer depends entirely on the next raise. Friends argue over small expenses that once mattered deeply to you, and you remember exactly how that pressure felt. You don't judge them. If anything, you understand them more. You simply realize you've stepped onto a different piece of ground without anyone else noticing. Opportunity starts knocking in subtle ways. Investments that once seemed too risky now deserve a second look, because one mistake won't destroy your future. Business ideas become exciting instead of terrifying. Time itself becomes more valuable than money. You begin asking a question that never crossed your mind before. If I never needed another paycheck, how would I actually spend my days? The answer doesn't arrive immediately. It unfolds slowly, forcing you to confront something more intimidating than financial insecurity. It forces you to confront yourself. Because the greatest difference between having $1 million and dreaming about it isn't luxury, it's responsibility. The number you've spent years chasing is no longer a destination. It's a mirror, revealing who you become when survival is no longer your primary mission. And that's the moment the real journey quietly begins. A few months pass, and the million starts feeling less like an achievement, and more like a tool. You notice that the people who truly built lasting wealth rarely talk about the money itself. They talk about optionality. The ability to say no becomes more powerful than the ability to say yes. You no longer stay in situations simply because you can't afford to leave. A toxic workplace, an unhealthy partnership, a client who drains your energy, they all lose their grip the moment your financial survival stops depending on their approval. That quiet confidence changes the way people respond to you, even if they never learn your net worth. You stop negotiating from fear. You ask better questions. You become comfortable walking away from bad deals, because desperation is no longer sitting beside you at the table. Ironically, this is often when the best opportunities begin to appear. Investors trust calm decision makers. Business partners respect patience. Success starts attracting more success, not because of luck, but because your decisions are no longer driven by panic. Then comes the temptation almost nobody warns you about. Lifestyle inflation doesn't arrive in one dramatic purchase. It slips in quietly. A nicer apartment, a luxury vacation, a car that feels deserved. None of them seem unreasonable on their own, but together they create a new standard that quickly begins to feel ordinary. The freedom you worked years to earn can slowly disappear if every increase in wealth is matched by an increase in spending. You realize the wealthiest people often don't look wealthy because they're protecting something far more valuable than status. They're protecting independence. Eventually, another realization settles in. $1 million changes your life, but it doesn't make you untouchable. Markets fall. Businesses fail. Inflation quietly reshapes purchasing power. Wealth isn't something you reach once. It's something you manage every single day. The habits that helped you build it become even more important than the number itself. Looking back, you smile at the version of yourself who believed $1 million would solve every problem. It didn't. It simply replaced financial stress with better questions. How do you spend your time? Who deserves your attention? What kind of legacy do you want to build? Those questions don't appear on any bank statement yet. They become the ones that matter most. Because the greatest luxury waiting on the other side of $1 million isn't the house, the watch, or the vacation. It's waking up each morning knowing your choices finally belong to you, and discovering that true wealth has always been measured by the life you are free to create, not just the number you worked so hard to achieve. Years from now, someone will ask you the question you've heard your entire life. When did you know you made it? They'll expect you to mention the day your net worth crossed $1 million. They'll imagine a celebration, a luxury purchase, or a photograph marking the moment everything changed. But you'll remember something much quieter. You'll remember the first weekend you didn't think about work, the first vacation where you never checked your email, the first time an unexpected expense arrived and your heartbeat didn't change. Those moments won't make headlines, but they'll tell the real story. You'll also discover that wealth has a strange way of revealing character. Some people will celebrate your success without hesitation. Others will become distant, competitive, or quietly resentful. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because money changes the stories people tell themselves. You'll learn that privacy is often more valuable than attention. The fewer people who know your financial position, the more naturally your relationships tend to remain. Real friendships survive because they were never built on your bank account in the first place. As your confidence grows, you'll begin investing in things that never appear on a balance sheet. Better health, better sleep, more time with your family. The freedom to walk away from constant stress becomes an investment with the highest return you'll ever receive. You realize that money isn't replacing happiness. It's removing unnecessary obstacles that kept happiness out of reach. Then one afternoon, almost without noticing, you'll catch yourself doing something that would have seemed impossible years earlier. You'll help someone without expecting anything in return. Maybe it's paying for a student's education, supporting your parents, funding a local business, or giving a struggling family the opportunity they never had. In that moment, the number in your portfolio matters less than the impact it creates in someone else's life. Wealth reaches its highest purpose when it becomes a tool that improves more than your own future. And that's the final lesson waiting beyond $1 million. The goal was never the number itself. The number was simply the bridge. On one side lived a version of you focused on surviving. On the other side stands someone with the rare privilege of choosing what kind of life to build every single day. The people who stay wealthy understand this difference. They don't chase money because they already know what money cannot buy. They chase meaning, freedom, health, relationships, and time. Everything else becomes secondary. $1 million doesn't mark the end of your financial journey. It marks the beginning of living with intention. And in the end, that may be the richest feeling of all.